A small creature hovers in front of a stranger's face. Its brain is no larger than a grain of sand. It has never seen this person before. And yet, something remarkable happens. The bee pauses, studies the contours of the face before it, and if given the chance to see that same face again days later, will remember it. This isn't instinct. This isn't random behavior. This is recognition. And the science behind how it happens challenges everything we thought we knew about the limits of tiny brains. For most of human history, we've looked at insects as little more than biological automatons, creatures driven purely by reflex and chemical signals. The idea that something as small as a honeybee could perform a cognitive task we associate with primates seemed absurd. But over the past 2 decades, researchers studying bee cognition have uncovered something extraordinary. Under the right conditions, honeybees can learn to distinguish one human face from another. They can be trained to recognize specific facial features, and they can retain that information long enough to act on it later. This discovery didn't come from folklore or accident. It emerged from controlled laboratory experiments designed to test the outer boundaries of insect learning. Scientists presented bees with photographs of human faces paired with rewards, a drop of sugar water. Over time, the bees learned to associate certain faces with food. When shown the same face again, even without the reward present, the bees would fly toward it. When shown a different face, they would ignore it. The behavior was consistent, repeatable, measurable. But recognizing a face is not a simple task. Human faces are incredibly complex visual stimuli. We have eyes, noses, mouths, all arranged in similar configurations, yet each face is unique. For a human, recognizing a friend in a crowd feels effortless, but it requires sophisticated neural processing. Our brains have specialized regions dedicated to facial recognition. We process faces differently than we process objects or landscapes. So how does a creature with fewer than 1 million neurons compared to our roughly 86 billion accomplish anything remotely similar? The answer lies not in having a larger brain, but in how the brain is used. Honeybees possess a visual system that is far more capable than their size would suggest. Their compound eyes, made up of thousands of tiny lenses, feed information into a brain structure called the optic lobe, which processes spatial patterns, shapes, and contrasts. From there, signals travel to a region known as the mushroom body, a part of the insect brain involved in learning and memory. This is where associations form, where experiences are encoded, where a pattern of light and shadow can become something meaningful. What bees are doing when they recognize a face is not the same as what humans do. We don't know if they experience recognition the way we do, if they have any subjective sense of familiarity. What we do know is that they are capable of configural processing. This means they don't just memorize isolated features. They learn the spatial relationships between features, the distance between 2 eyes, the position of a mouth relative to a nose. These relationships form a kind of map, and that map becomes the template the bee uses to identify the same face again. This ability relies on a strategy called holistic pattern recognition. Researchers have tested this by altering parts of the faces bees were trained on. When individual features were rearranged, eyes moved farther apart, or a mouth shifted, the bees often failed to recognize the face, even though all the parts were still present. This suggests they aren't just looking for a nose or an eye. They're looking for the whole configuration, the gestalt, the pattern. But why would a bee evolve the capacity to do this? Bees don't encounter human faces in nature. They have no evolutionary reason to recognize us. What they do need to recognize are flowers. And flowers, like faces, are complex visual patterns. Each species of flower has a distinct shape, color, and arrangement of petals. Some flowers are more rewarding than others. A bee that can quickly learn which flowers offer the most nectar and pollen and remember those patterns across time and space has a significant survival advantage. The same cognitive machinery that allows a bee to distinguish between a daisy and a dandelion also allows it, under artificial conditions, to distinguish between 2 human faces. This kind of cognitive flexibility is called transfer learning. The bee's brain didn't evolve to recognize faces, but the skills it uses to recognize flowers can be applied to other visual tasks when the right training is provided. It's a testament to how evolution builds adaptable systems. A small brain, under pressure to solve one problem efficiently, ends up capable of solving others it was never designed for. The implications of this reach far beyond novelty. Understanding how bees process and remember visual information helps scientists explore the fundamental principles of learning and memory. It challenges the assumption that complex cognition requires complex brains. It opens the door to questions about what other abilities might be hidden in organisms we've underestimated. And it offers insight into how we might design artificial systems, robots, algorithms that can learn efficiently with minimal hardware. There's also a more immediate relevance. Honeybees are among the most important pollinators on the planet. They support the reproduction of countless wild plants and agricultural crops. Their ability to learn and remember floral patterns directly impacts how effectively they forage, and therefore, how well ecosystems and food systems function. By understanding the limits and capabilities of bee cognition, researchers can better predict how environmental changes, habitat loss, pesticide exposure, climate shifts might affect pollination. If a bee's ability to learn is impaired, even slightly, the consequences ripple outward. Scientists continue to explore the boundaries of what bees can learn. Some studies suggest they can grasp concepts like same and different. Others indicate they may be able to solve simple puzzles or navigate symbolic cues. The more we test, the more we find. Not because bees are secretly intelligent in the way mammals are, but because intelligence itself is not one thing. It's a collection of skills. And many of those skills don't require a large brain. They require the right architecture, the right pressures, the right evolutionary history. What we're learning is that the line between simple and complex behavior is not as clear as we once believed. A bee doesn't think like we do. It doesn't reflect on its choices or imagine the future. But it solves problems. It adapts. It learns. And in doing so, it reminds us that the natural world is full of capabilities we're only beginning to understand. Every time we assume we know the limits of what's possible in a tiny body, nature finds a way to surprise us. So the next time a bee hovers near your face, consider what might be happening behind those compound eyes. It's not studying you the way you might study it, but it is processing, calculating, comparing patterns to memories formed in a brain smaller than a sesame seed. And if it had reason to, if it had been trained, it might just remember you.